Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you guys are having a great day. And in today's video, I'm sitting back in my very comfortable chair, relaxing and giving you guys my unsolicited opinions about fandoms. Today, we're talking about tourists and fandom tourism, both in video games and in pop culture like anime and film and TV shows and such like that. You see, recently, I've noticed that there's been a growing trend in certain anime corners of the internet to bash on and insult and uh, talk down on Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z, by some people, is being called a bad series with no plot and just generic shonen slop with nothing unique to it when compared to newer shows like Jujutsu Kaisen or My Hero Academia nuts. Right? And I've got to say, that is a bold take. And it reminds me a lot of a take and a spew of opinions that I used to hear in the early 2010s. Back then, there were a lot of people going around talking about how The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was actually, in retrospective, a bad game that has nothing cool to offer. It's just a generic action adventure puzzle game with no unique plot elements or anything like that, and it's got bad combat and controls and lock on and such. I also saw that argument for Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil classic games with the tank controls. And in film, I saw occasionally I'll see people bash on the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy. Not great, but something I noticed with all these comments, all these claims, is that they're usually, not always, but usually, made by people who are, for lack of a better word, tourists. People who are very new to these corners of fandom. People who are just getting into anime or just getting into video games. People who don't have a lot of experience under their belt. People who are younger and more ignorant or less exposed to the mediums that they claim to be a fan of. And whether through ignorance or a desire to raise attention to themselves by making a controversial opinion, or just because they really, really have that bad of an opinion, they will go out of their way to attack critically acclaimed masterpieces that came out long before they were even a twinkle in their father's eye. Because the thing is, Dragon Ball Z is a foundational anime to the entirety of Western anime culture. To try to claim that Dragon Ball Z was not popular and that it's not enjoyable and that the overall series wasn't fun or good or anything like that, well, that's just blatant revisionism. Because let me tell you, there was nobody alive in the late 90s and early 2000s. There was nobody alive who was into anime who didn't know about Dragon Ball Z. Everybody knew about Dragon Ball Z, and you could not find somebody who did not like Dragon Ball Z if they watched it. You couldn't. It was critically acclaimed, had some of the most amazing fight scenes, and truly iconic moments in the entire history of anime itself. I mean, if you think of truly hype moments in anime, there are some cool stuff in newer series, don't get me wrong. You know, there's some cool, flashy crap in newer anime, whatever. Um, but nothing will ever top Goku's first Super Saiyan transformation when he's laying the smackdown on Frieza on Planet Namek. You know, it was just something that everybody acknowledged was great. But some people, for whatever reason, decades after the fact, want to go, actually, that was actually bad for reasons. And I'm going to be obnoxious about my terrible explanation about it. And again, it's not just Dragon Ball. There's people who go back and lambast anything that was super popular back in the day, and they'll go, "Oh, actually, it wasn't that good because it didn't age well. It doesn't compare well to my modern standards." These people, when they go back and they insult and demean and say that these critically acclaimed, like I said, pieces of pop culture history, the people who mock The Godfather or Terminator in film, there's people who do that. There's people who go back and mock the original Star Wars trilogy. Like, there are people who claim to be Star Wars fans who hate the original 4, 5, and 6. Okay? When you encounter someone like that, online, in any open forum, discussion, whatever, whether you're on a website, private forum, social media, Discord, whatever, wherever you are, and someone is legitimately spouting out their hatred for the amazing icons that came before, just know that that person is a tourist and their opinion can be safely ignored. Why do I say that? Because social media is a mental parasite. And social media platforms are designed to drain your energy as much as possible to keep you locked in. And there is nothing that the social media overlords want more than for you to get into pointless arguments about what is and is not good with any kind of media. Okay? And if you know in your heart of hearts that Dragon Ball Z or Ocarina of Time or the OG God of War, Star Wars, whatever it is that you truly believe, that you enjoy, that you know for a fact is good, and someone comes along and lambasts it, let me tell you something. You don't have to waste a moment of your time with these people. Any of them, whether they're being legitimate or if they're just rage baiting. You can move on with your life. Spend as little time as possible giving these people an audience. Because you don't even have to acknowledge their claims as valid. It's just a fact of life. If someone wants to come along and insult something that you love, you don't have to listen to it. That's my uncle advice for you kids this week is there's a lot of terrible opinions out there. And I know, you should respect everyone's opinion. You should give everyone the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're all talking in good faith. But I've seen this kind of crap before. I've seen this kind of widespread. I forget who it was. There was a content creator back in the day who really shat on Ocarina of Time. One of the most critically acclaimed video games of all time. And then a bunch of people who've never played the game would just parrot the opinion. And I could lose so much sleep arguing with them. Or I could move on with my life and continue to enjoy the games that I know are good. Now, which one of those did you think I went with? Now, the same works. Here's a secret tip. The same works in reverse. If someone comes up to you with something that they legitimately think is the greatest thing ever, and you look at that thing, someone, heaven forbid, someone comes up to you and says that the Acolyte is actually the greatest installment in Star Wars ever. Okay? Now, I know that we're really digging in with some unrealistic claims here, okay? But if someone comes up to you and exclaims that, no, Acolyte is actually really great, and it was an amazing show, the acting was great, the special effects were great, and it's just the fans that are wrong, guess what? You don't have to go out of your way to muck up their gum. You don't have to be negative towards them. You can continue about your day without bothering them one bit. Because if they believe it's the greatest thing ever, then more power to them, but you don't got to waste your time with that. You can move on and be just fine knowing deep down that, well, that person's opinion can probably be ignored from now on. Because here's the thing. You only have so much time on this earth, right? You only have so much time on God's green earth. And that time could best be spent discussing the things you enjoy. You can disagree with people. You can have engaging disagreements even, I believe. You know, two people like the same video game, they can talk about why one thinks one boss or area is greater than the other, and the other can discuss why they think a different boss or area is greater than another. You know, you got two fans of a classic movie or classic movies in general. You know, you can have people arguing about whether or not The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is better than Tombstone. I prefer Tombstone, by the way. If you like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly over that, fight me. You can have meaningful, engaging conversations, but the kind of people who go out of their way to shit on the things that have been just widely accepted as good, or prop up the things that are widely accepted as bad, more often than not, they're just a waste of your time. And you don't have to waste your time engaging with them. That's what I'm trying to say here today. So, thank you so much for watching, kiddos. Please like, share, subscribe. Discord, Patreon, TCG Player, all that jazz. That's all I got. See you guys later. Ciao.